You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. LSU spring football has come and gone. Figure it was about time to start talking to some of the guys that participated in Brian Kelly's first spring. And the guy's been good enough to spend a lot of time with us ever since he committed when he was back in high school at STM. My bad.
You're good.
It's Jack Bech who's good enough to join us in the studio. How are you, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
You straight off the practice field? You working out? What's going on?
Yeah, we did a little workout at the facility and then headed over here. So ran a little bit.
You got, what do we call this? Do we call this ice? Do we call this drip? I'm not cool, but you got the 80 that looks diamond encrusted. That looks pretty nice, bro.
I got it as a gift.
All right, man. I'm not nearly that cool. No jewelry. When you get this old, it doesn't matter. Hey, man, let's talk a little bit about how the first spring with Brian Kelly went. Maybe we'll go back and talk a little bit about your freshman year and expectations for year two and everything like that as well. But do you remember clearly like what expectation you had when Brian Kelly was hired?
Just like, what do you mean by that, I guess?
So Brian Kelly spent 12 years at Notre Dame, right? So he's a well-known guy.
Right.
I mean, I know throughout the recruitment process, you have those conversations, but based on what you knew about him and then what you experienced, how did it match? Like, what you thought of Brian Kelly and then what you got to experience, how were they similar? How were they different?
Yeah, whenever he came in, obviously knowing from his past, he's a winning coach. He does everything the right way. You can go back to all his teams. Accountability is like the one main thing that he brings, and you can already tell that he's really brought it back over here. It's like night and day difference from last year. Just like the stuff he's implemented and implied, you can tell just in the locker room when we're all in there, everybody's catching the hang of it and is really like getting on the track. And like I feel like obviously this year's going to be a lot different, and everybody wants to be in there. Everybody wants to win. The transfers we got, they're all kids that want to be at LSU, that want to win, and came to win a national championship. We're not here to like play any games or anything like that. We're here to take care of business, and he's a businessman. He knows how to do that. So I mean, it's been really good. It was a great spring. I think we practice one, we were out there running 11 on 11. Everybody, like, obviously we had a couple mistakes, but I remember that pretty well just because, like, I feel like day one is sloppy and our day one was to the T. A couple mess up on plays for the most part. We ran through a whole 11 on 11 script without really any major mess ups.
I'm sorry, how uncommon is it? So, like, for most people, I mean, I obviously never went through spring football in college. 99% of the people listening never went through it. So what would a normal day one in spring be like relative to what you all did?
So like a normal day is we just get in there, we watch film, a couple hours, we go through the script of film, and then we go out there, we do a little walkthrough, something like that, and then we go to practice. And so this was my first spring being here, obviously. Yeah. So, I mean, that's all I really know. I mean, I'm just assuming that usually like first days of spring pretty sloppy. I mean, I know like hard to compare to high school, but I mean, always like the first couple, even the week of high school spring ball is always a little sloppy. So, I mean, just coming in and day one, we're being to the T. Like everybody knows their assignments, knows what to do. Might not get the play right, but knowing what steps to take, how to do it, where to go. I mean, that was pretty big just for me to see.
You also said you used a buzzword that we've heard Brian Kelly use a ton. You said accountability. I mean, a lot of times you do this long enough, you know that sometimes players will reiterate what coaches are saying, right? Because if you sit in every meeting room and coaches are saying accountability to you a million times, even if you don't know it, like you'll start using that word. Right. So I'm sure Brian Kelly has used that word endlessly with you all. You said it's night and day. I'm not asking to like call out anything from last year because there's different ways, right? Different coaches have different styles, and it's fine. Can you kind of illustrate for us what you mean by the differences in what it's been like relative to what it was, as far as which is like the accountability and stuff like that?
Yeah. First off, I just want to say Coach O gave me the opportunity to play here, so I love Coach O. I love the whole old staff. But I just kind of feel like like during the summer, like fall camp. Like all that was pretty good. I mean, we had a good bit of players that got hurt. that never really bounced back from fall camp. But I feel like one of the locker room points being the main point. I felt like once we got into the year, a couple of games in, a couple people maybe like didn't want to be there. You know, they didn't. I don't know. Just feel like, I mean, people can say that from the outside. People had make comments about it. I feel like kind of like our inner team kind of felt that, and we kind of felt that, and you know, kids just kind of like it was kind of like a trail. Like one kid would kind of didn't want to do something, and the next kid wouldn't want to. Then it kind of kept going, and so you had a good bit of people that didn't want to. I just feel like things got kind of like a little, I guess, like a little messy. But now it's just everybody like we want to be here. Like we want to be at the facility working. We want to be, you know, around the coaches. We want to be watching film. We want to win games. Like we're LSU. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're supposed to do. So I mean, I guess those are like the main changes I've seen. I guess you could ask somebody else and they'll say some different things about different changes they saw. But for me, those are like the biggest changes I saw. Just everybody wants to be here. We want to play for LSU. We want to play for that stadium. We want to win, and we want to play for the state of Louisiana, and we want to bring a national championship back here. Like Coach Kelly says, we want to, you know, graduate champions. So that's what we're here to do.
Jack Bech is in studio with us. You even mentioned the transfers. What was interesting is earlier this week we saw the SWAT, right? The Summer Workout Accountability Team was released. You're on there, so that for the captains. What stood out to me when I looked at this, we talked about it on the show, like half this list is dudes that just transferred in. Mm-hmm. So give me your impression of the new guys and how, I mean, Jark Bernard-Converse, Greg Brooks, Joe Fouché, Jay Bramblett. Is Jay Bramblett even here? I didn't think the punter was even here. He's not even here yet. He's one of the guys on this list.
He was one of the kids back at Notre Dame, so he knows how to like fulfill that spot.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Well, half of this list is new guys.
Yeah. So this was our second time going through the process. We had, whenever Coach Kelly came in January, I forget when we first started doing the SWAT teams, but we had 10 before. It was like me and Mason, like Miles, Josh, Jay Ward, and some different people like that. And then we just had, then Coach picked like a new set of captains, and that's whenever he put a bunch of the transfers in, and then kept, I think, like me, Miles, and Josh stayed or something like that.
So how's it work, like to where those guys who have been so new, how they've assimilated, maybe taken on leadership spots so quickly?
Yeah, I feel like.
I mean, am I misreading that, or does that seem like they have?
Yeah, no, a good bit of them too. It helps because, like, if you go look at them, a lot of them aren't like freshmen that transferred. They're older kids, like they're fourth, fifth years, you know. So they've experienced. They played college ball. They know how things run. Their experience in the field as well. So different things like that. I feel like we're going to be a relatively, I guess you could say, kind of young team, except for I guess a couple positions. So having older kids like that are experienced, I feel like they've stepped up to the plate. They all work hard. They all lead, vocal leaders as well as not just like on the field showing, but they're also vocal. Just different things like that. And I think that's what Coach Kelly's looking for. And don't be mistaken, everybody that was on the first SWAT team easily could have stayed. I think Coach Kelly just maybe wanted to mix it up a little bit before we got to the season, and maybe just like trial and error, just see maybe if somebody could fulfill even better or not. But like I said, the people that were the first 10 easily could have stayed, but I think he maybe just wanted to see what else other people could do.
2 years for you now in college, and now it's just two offensive coordinators. How does that adjustment go for you from the offense a year ago to now with Mike Denbrock?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I guess like we have like obviously similar concepts. There's only so many concepts you can have, but the difference is the way Coach Denbrock, he mixes and matches those concepts, which is going to be like the main difference. He's heavy on tight ends. Definitely, he loves using his tight ends. A lot of RPOs, different things like that, which we didn't do a whole bunch last year, which I think really opens up the offense because, I mean, you don't know if you're going to run the ball or throw the ball in any given play. Different things like that. Coach Denbrock, one of his main things too is he likes getting the ball to playmakers in the open field and letting us do what we're best at, like make plays. So that's another big thing, which I think is going to be really good for us, especially with the athletes we have here. Every one of our guys can make huge plays if you give them open grass, give them a chance to make a move or two. Different things like that have changed, and obviously a whole new playbook, whole new not whole new plays, but whole new terminology.
Is that hard? The terminology change?
It is leading up to spring, but once you get into spring and you start doing the reps and you start doing it every day, you can pick onto it pretty quickly.
You also have a new receiver coach in Cortez Hankton. What have been your impressions? If I say, all right, describe Cortez Hankton as a receivers coach, you would say what?
A beast. Love Coach Hank. He's already taught us. He's only been with us a couple months, and he's already gave us like a whole new outlook and perspective on like the receiver play. He's been an awesome mentor already. First thing he did was like he gave us his number and was like, if y'all need anything, like I'm always here to call you. He has a family and all that, but he was like, like I'm always gonna help y'all. Like, and one of the main other things he said whenever he was like, y'all are my family now. So like definitely different things like that. He's from New Orleans, so he's a native. He loves LSU. He loves his state. And he really put that like into us. He's like, we play for a way greater purpose than just us. We play for obviously us, our families, but we play for the state, all the kids that are looking up to us, and different things like that watch our every move. And he's been awesome. He's hard on us, but he'll get on you, but then he'll tell you that he loves you after. So I mean, he's been a really awesome coach in the classroom, on the field, and then in every just aspect.
Did he wear his Georgia ring out to practice?
I was even looking, but I don't think he would do
Dude,
that.
I think even if you weren't looking, if he had it on, brother, you would have noticed, man. Those things are massive.
That thing. Yeah, I can't wait to get one.
Hey, man, you've talked about it, and I think you have the coach in place that's his objective. That's the reason Brian Kelly's here, is to win a national championship. What about the receiver room? Are there guys? By the way, you said they love using the tight ends. Are you working at tight end still? Because you did that last, so you're exclusively receiver now. Okay, you're good with that.
100%.
Yeah, I'd imagine that just had to be difficult trying to do that as a freshman and cross train at both spots last year.
I mean, I've always been a receiver, so that stuff is natural. I mean, if you go look back on tape, I really wasn't doing much tight end stuff, even though I was like listed as a tight end. It was really just like
there were times you had your hand in the dirt, though. Yeah,
there was like a couple times, probably like 5 plays the whole season where it was like that. And then like the one main thing I was doing that I never did before was like coming across the line and like cutting the D end, which I mean that's pretty easy to pick up though. That's not hard. You just kind of throw your body at their legs and you don't even have to make them fall. You just got to get a piece of them because it's usually on the backside. So I mean you just got to make sure they don't shoot from the back and make the play.
Did you ever whiff?
I don't think. Yeah, I whiffed like once or twice.
You know if you whiffed. Dude, so I played offensive line in high school. Like, I remember the times where I completely whiffed. That's been 25 years, right? Like, I didn't even play at a high level, and I remember when I whiffed.
Yeah.
So, like, you know if you whiffed. Did you piss anybody off?
Probably.
Yeah? Nobody barked at you, though?
Well, no, they did, but that was the thing. It were only like a couple times per game I would do that. So, like, even if they would say something, it wasn't like I was going against them the next play. So, like, you know what I mean? I was going back out to the receiver. But, I mean, no, that's just the one main difference, really. And, like, the only thing I really had to pick up was whenever you're a receiver, you have to know how the DBs play, what they do, their tendencies, and all that. Then I kind of had to learn what the DNs would do whenever people would cut, what their tendencies were. So,
there was no Kayshawn this spring, obviously. He'll be back in the fall. What receivers do you think made the most of that opportunity in what looks like a very, very deep receiver room, right? I mean, y'all are stacked there. Yeah, and then you add Kyron as well. I mean, who looks like they're ready to make a move?
I feel like anybody and everybody in that room is due for a breakout season. I feel like you could pick any one of them, and like everybody's worked extremely hard. They've done everything they're supposed to on and off the field. And they're all dogs on the field. They all have that mentality that they're going to go out and kill. They're going to go get what's theirs. So, I mean, I feel like really anybody in that room can come, and everybody is going to burst into the scene. But I feel like any given one could really go off.
You know, it's so strange too, man, because if you rewind the clock, I don't know, man, 6-7 years, that was a punchline around here. I mean, because LSU just never threw the ball. You know, and the fact that now, like, the receiver group is legitimately the deepest, most talented position group on the offense. It's not to say the others aren't good, aren't going to come along, but if you had to start somewhere and say what's the deepest, most talented position group on the offense, I mean, it's receiver right now. I mean, it has to be. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the quarterbacks as well. Of course, we're 20 minutes in. We got to talk about the quarterbacks. What did you think? How did they do this spring?
I think everybody had their days, and I think every quarterback has their strengths and weaknesses. You know, you go from Miles being very experienced.
Yeah, let's go one by one. Tell me Miles' strengths. Let's like chart that out. What if I said Miles Brennan? What are his strengths right now?
He's experienced. You know, he's been around the program for a while. Has a really strong arm. You know, he always knows what to do. Knows the playbook. And he has just a good, easy ball to catch.
Jaden Daniels, what's his strength? And I mean, he's brand new, right? But best you can tell from 15 practices.
He knows, like, he throws the ball for, like, a good bit of times, like, before you come out your breaks. Like, I feel like he has a good feel of where the receiver is going to be and where the defense isn't going to be. And then, obviously, he's really fast. He's smooth. He can run. He can make plays with his feet. He can scramble. And different things like that. And then he's also experienced because he has a couple of years under his belt as well.
Dude's made 30 starts.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no replacing that experience. Nussmeier.
Nuss.
That was the buzz, right? Nuss had the big spring that everybody talked about. He's the guy that sort of seemed to thrust himself into a three-way competition.
Yeah. I feel like he's kind of mixed. He can scramble if he needs to, but he can also throw the rock. You know, he's obviously a pocket passer, but when he needs to, he'll escape the pocket. But what I like about him is whenever he escapes the pocket, he's not trying to, like, escape to go run and slide and get the first down. Like, he's trying to escape and find his wide receiver and, like, throw it deep downfield for a touchdown. So, I mean, and he's also in the film room, works really hard. And he's just a good mix of both of them.
For Garrett, for Nuss, what was the biggest improvement that you could tell from year one to the end of this spring?
His comfort level. He just felt comfortable, like he was supposed to be back there. He would sit back there. He would tell people what to do, the line, what to do, receivers if they were not lined up correctly. He just felt like he became and molded more of that role as a QB.
I got to ask you about Walker.
And Walker.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Walker
for those that don't know, Walker and Jack obviously played together in high school.
Walker has a cannon for an arm.
Yeah, he showed it a couple times.
Yeah.
He showed it off.
He has a cannon for the arm. And then, obviously, I could talk about high school, but I guess that stuff's kind of, like, irrelevant now. So, I mean, just from the spring, every practice I felt he got more and more comfortable. Every practice he got better and better and made strides. Like I said, he has a cannon for an arm. He's getting to know the playbook really well. And people don't know, but he's fast. He's actually really fast. And he's like Nuss. He can scramble. He likes sitting in the pocket and throwing strikes, but he can also scramble with his feet and make some really great throws, you know, across his body, going the same way. So it's going to be I'm excited to see who starts day one because people think I know and the coaches. I don't think the coaches know. Like, I think this is going to be a decision made at the end of fall camp.
And if they do know, they're not telling anybody. I mean,
they're not even telling us.
Exactly. So, I mean, why would they? I mean, because they know you're going to come here and tell me. So, of course they're not. And I wouldn't press you for an answer because I don't believe that you know. But it is going to be interesting if I said, do you feel like after a year in the SEC and seeing, look, I mean, you saw the Heisman Trophy winner last year on the other side of the field. Like, do you feel like that this offense can compete at that level in the SEC with one of these guys under center?
100%. No doubt in my mind. Whoever, I feel like any one of them can bring us to a national championship. No doubt in my mind. I feel like every one of them has that ability. I mean, like you just said, we played against Bryce Young. And, I mean, all their QBs can be just as good, if not better than him. So, I mean, I feel like any one of the four can, lead us to a national championship because they've all already have been stepping into that role.
A couple more minutes before you go. Jack Bech in studio with us. We appreciate you for coming in studio, too, today.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the rest of So I mean, school's about to end, right? You get finals next week. Because the finals are next week. Then what?
We're off for like 8 days, and then we got to come back for summer school that starts on the 23rd.
All right, so you're right back in it, and then it's workouts.
And then workouts start on the 30th.
Are y'all doing any on-field work? Like, is it player-led stuff right now? Or what do y'all do?
Since we just got out of spring, like last week, we're all just kind of like hanging out. Nothing is like in big groups. We're all just kind of going in, working out, doing field work, different things like that, getting our bodies back into it. But that's going to kick back up probably whenever everybody gets back on campus the 23rd. While we have that week off, we'll probably all start throwing the rock again. I mean, we haven't thrown the rock, but I'm talking about in like a group setting. We'll probably start that all whenever we all get back together on the 23rd, because everybody is now like has finals kind of, so like it's kind of hard to get everybody in one place at the same time.
You're gonna have a bunch of new guys coming in too. You know, you're gonna have all the freshmen and the transfers that haven't showed up yet. So how quickly, because I mean, you were a guy who came in June. How quickly or how realistic is it that players can quickly sort of assimilate here in the summer?
Yeah, I think, obviously there's always going to be a jump from high school to college football. But, I mean, for some kids it might take a month. Others it might take 6 months, a year. So, I mean, it really just depends on, like, I guess, who you are and the type of player you are. Yeah, I mean, it can really be as quick as a month or as much as 6 months to a year, if not longer. So, I mean.
Last thing for you. At what point... Bro, that chair's getting you. The chair's getting mud too. That chair, I don't know if you've noticed, but you've fallen like 6 inches since you sat down. We always laugh about the chairs in here. What point in your freshman year did you feel like, yep, I belong here. I got this? Like, was there a moment in practice or in a game where you were like, yep, I'm good? Like, even if you felt like you knew that you could, but like where it validated.
Whenever, definitely at UCLA, like whenever I was pretty nervous before the game, but then the first play of the game, they called the formation, and I was in like snap one, play number one from the line. And whenever I walked out in the field, like I didn't feel nervous, I didn't feel any pressure, I didn't feel anything, and and then like a couple of days later, I made my first catch, and I was like, this isn't so bad. So definitely probably the first game getting on that field, seeing how many people and not really feeling any pressure or anything like that, probably that point. Because I thought that first time I got in the field and saw how many people were watching, especially in a setting like that, first game, Rose Bowl, but nothing really. I felt like I belonged out there first snap. So
first game this year, of course, will be in the Superdome against Florida State. That'll be a fun too. Do you have the T-shirts? Are those still for sale?
They will be.
All right.
They were out and we haven't really made any because like the season we kind of stopped making them after the season, but we're in the works, so hopefully getting some more out.
Bech, I'm from Louisiana, which kind of got trending last year a little bit, which was kind of awesome. So like, do you have a website? Like, where would people go if they want to or they want to pre-order? Or is it just on your social media?
It was on my social media, but then once we sold out of them, I put like some different links, like some charity links and different things like that on my social media. But whenever they drop again, I'm going to be putting like the link back in my bio on Instagram and all that.
Very cool. His IG is Jack Bech 7. So make sure you follow him on Instagram, Jack Bech 7, and on Twitter as well. He is LSU receiver Jack Bech. Appreciate you for coming in, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.